Alrighty, yo, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. DDG94, back with another reaction video. Today we're going to react to I'll Tell My Kids. This is by Johnny Arnett. A lot of people have been asking me to react to Jimmy High Roller. There's a reason why I don't react to Jimmy High Roller. Because he's a LeBron fanboy and he tries to use stats to prove that LeBron is the greatest player of all time, and I disagree with that wholly. And I just don't. I can't fuck with nobody that's gonna use stats to prove a point about everything. And yeah, I just don't fuck with this content like that. If you're just gonna sit up here and dick ride LeBron and use stats to prove that LeBron is great with the stats and all that, listen, bro, I'm old school, man. I was around when Jordan was in a Bulls jersey. I was around to see Kobe and Shaq dominate the league. I was around to see Allen Iverson and his greatness. I was around to see Tracy McGrady and his greatness. I was around where LeBron James had a hairline. I was his actual hairline, not that artificial shit he got on his head. I was around when Brandon Roy was a thing. I was around when KD and Russ was young and on the Thunder with James Harden. I was around when Steph Curry was just a baby, was known as the babyface assassin. Before he broke out and became what he became. I've been around long enough to see a lot of things, bro. And I've watched a lot of basketball, and LeBron James just doesn't cut it for me. He's a great player, but he just doesn't cut it for me. So please stop asking me about Jimmy High Roller. I don't care for Jimmy High Roller. If he's going to use stats 9 times out of 10, he's going to dick ride LeBron. That's why I ignore his videos. So don't be asking me about Jimmy High Roller. It's no offense, but I just can't fuck with it. I just can't fuck with somebody that uses stats to try to prove a point when it's more than just stats to me. It's what I see. And LeBron James is not really him. He's top 5, but he's not him. I've seen better. I've seen better. Not stats, but I've seen better. I've watched enough games to know who's great, who's not great, who's him, who's not him, who's better. You cannot use stats to prove a point. Not with me. You can use that with anybody else that wasn't born in the 90s or the 80s or the 70s or the 60s or the 50s or the 40s. But you cannot use that type of logic against me. I will show you more than I can tell you. I don't need stats to prove my point. I have evidence. I can go back to any game that appears in my brain. I've watched a lot of basketball. So please do not tell me that LeBron James is great. He's top 5. And that's where he stays. Top 5. Fuck out of here. Them stats don't mean nothing to me. Okay? That's where I stand. I know Jimmy High Roller. I'm not here to see no LeBron dick rider try to prove a point. I don't have time for that shit.
If you've been following my channel for a while, then you know I'm someone who's been enjoying the game of basketball basically throughout my entire life. As a guy who's now in his mid-30s, I've seen a lot. Some of the incredible things I've witnessed from various superstars are not the kinds of things that future generations can understand by simply looking at a stat sheet.
Facts.
Some things you just either had to see with your own eyes, or you needed to have it described to you in detail. So all of this got me thinking. Since I plan on being a dad in the next few years, and
congratulations,
since there's a likelihood that my kids will like the game of basketball as well, what are things I'm going to tell them about the basketball I witnessed before they were born?
Congratulations
to you, my brother. This will certainly make for a weirder yet more interesting video, in the sense that we're sharing some of the more personal side of our basketball fandom. So regardless of where you're at in life, whether you're in your youth, you're a parent, or a grandparent, let me know in the comments what are things you would tell the next generation of basketball fans. So without further ado, let's get into it. First off, I'll tell my kids about my dad's favorite player, Magic Johnson. Although I'm not old enough to have witnessed Magic's prime as it was actually happening, I was able to watch a countless number of full games thanks to my dad recording basically everything he saw on VHS tapes. I will tell my kids that I never saw a point guard as mesmerizing as Magic Johnson. Sometimes, great facilitators are described as if they have eyes in the back of their head, but no player fits that term better than Magic, as he would make fast break, no-look passes that would have even his teammates confused. I just know Magic was beating it into his teammates' head every practice to keep their eyes alert and to keep their hands ready, because at any moment, a speeding bullet of a no-look pass could be coming in their direction when they least expect it. On top of that, Magic had the Showtime Lakers sprinting like they were track athletes.
Facts.
So his ability to make split-second decisions with extremely precise accuracy and execution was truly marvelous. I don't care what anyone says, we haven't seen a player like him since, and that's what I'll tell my kids. Next, I'll tell them about my favorite player, Kobe Bryant. I'll tell them that from a stats and accolades standpoint, it's hard to argue that Kobe was the greatest player of all time. But when I was watching him at his best, night in and night out, I had never seen a basketball player more impressive in my entire life.
Facts.
At least 4 or 5 times a game, Kobe would hit shots that would leave me awestruck. It didn't matter if he was off balance, if he was 40 feet away, if he was double teamed, or if he was falling out of bounds.
Or if he was
Every
using his
single
left
shot
hand.
was within his range, and it got to the point that I expected every shot to go in, and was somewhat surprised when it didn't. Before or since, I've never seen anyone else who could regularly make bad shots look like good shots. Which leads me to my next story. I will tell them that the closest player to Kobe when it comes to difficult shot making was Steph Curry. He was like the Mamba in the sense that he can make shots decently often that would make my jaw hit the floor. It's just that his were a little different. I'll tell them that Steph changed the game by forcing defenses to cover the ball handler the instant he crossed half court. Again, Kobe had the greatest wow factor, but Steph was the closest behind him. Now for the next story that I'll tell my kids, I'll probably aggravate quite a few people who are watching this video. But I don't care. Get your own kids. I will tell them about the difference between Michael Jordan and Kevin Durant. To me, the biggest difference that separates them from a character and legacy standpoint is also an important analogy and lesson for how we approach life. Let's start with Michael Jordan. When this guy was drafted, he was obviously a very hyped prospect with loads of talent and potential. But the organization he was joining in Chicago was an absolute joke at the time he arrived.
Yep.
They had never won a championship, they had no history of being successful
He turned
whatsoever,
them into a winner
and frankly,
by
their own
himself.
city was hardly even interested in watching them play. MJ changed all of that through hard work and commitment by being one of the strongest competitors and one of the most driven individuals in the history of sports.
Absolutely.
He transformed that franchise from the laughingstock of the league to an absolute powerhouse.
And he didn't leave when the going got tough. He stuck it out, he played through it, and he did what was best. If he didn't leave when the going got tough. I'm tired of y'all trying to justify players leaving teams when the going gets tough. If you want to be great, prove you're great. Don't leave and go team up with other great players. Prove your greatness on your own. Fuck out of here.
He built it from the ground up into an empire that would become the gold standard of basketball.
A dynasty.
And that, more than any other reason, is why he's still revered and so respected within the world of sports. Then you have Kevin Durant. In a way that was similar to Jordan, Durant was a highly desired prospect heading into the NBA draft. As a player who was around 7 feet tall and had the skills of an elite perimeter shooter, people saw
Young
that
Kevin
he had the
Durant,
potential
that jump
to
shot
be
was
one of the
ugly. I used
select
to hate
few
his jump
greatest
shot when he was
players
younger.
of all time.
His jump shot
But
now,
unlike Jordan,
beautiful.
Durant didn't stick around to build his organization into a champion from the
Facts.
ground up, but instead he took the path of least resistance and joined the team that had just beaten him, that had already won a championship, and that had the greatest regular season record in NBA history. He opted to go with a brand that had already established itself and that already belonged to another star. Because of this, even after he was able to win 2 championships with the team, He was never respected to the extent that he would have been if he built up a championship team somewhere else.
If he did it with Russ.
Obviously,
if only
being
he did it with
successful
Russ.
anywhere is going to be more enjoyable than simply not being successful.
They
Yet
both
there's
would be
something
acclimated
special
as the
about
greatest
being
right
the
now.
one who leads your own destiny, who builds your own legacy, and who makes something better than the way you found it. Being successful is awesome, but it always means more to yourself and to other people when you are the main reason for your own success, rather than riding the wave of what someone else created. Additionally, if my kids ever asked me what was the best era of basketball that I ever witnessed, I will tell them the 2000s.
Yeah.
I don't
Thank
think
you.
this will be a popular choice with many.
Thank you.
Because
Thank you. Listen, no disrespect to the 80s. Y'all had arguably some of the best players to ever play the fucking game in the 80s. You had Bird, you had Magic, you had Kareem, you had Jordan, you had Barkley, you had Hakeem. The 90s, you had Shaq, Penny, young Kobe, Iverson, Kevin Garnett, Jordan and the Bulls, Karl Malone and John Stockton, Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing and the Knicks. Y'all had arguably some of the best basketball from a playoff perspective. The 90s wins hands down. From a playoffs perspective, y'all had stars across the board for every team. But when we got to the 2000s, every team had a star. And that's facts. Every team in the 2000s had a star. Minnesota had KG. LA had Shaq and Kobe, and then just Kobe. Miami had Dwayne Wade. Orlando had Dwight Howard. It was Tracy McGrady. Then it was Steve Francis. Then it was Dwight Howard. Houston had Yao Ming and Steve Francis, and then Tracy McGrady. Dallas had Dirk. San Antonio had they team, pretty much. The Suns had Steve Nash and Amari and Stephon Marbury, if you want to say that. The Clippers was the only team with no superstar. Alright, so the Clippers is the only team with no superstar. But Seattle, they had Ray Allen and Rashad Lewis. Denver had Melo. Utah had Karl Malone and John Stockton. Then y'all had Darren Williams and Carlos Boozer. OKC is a 2010s team. OKC will consider y'all a 2010 team. But let's see here. Who else? New Orleans Hornets. New Orleans, Charlotte Hornets. Y'all had Baron Davis. Then y'all had Chris Paul. Come on, man. Atlanta, y'all had Jason Terry in the beginning. Then you had Joe Johnson, Josh Smith. Y'all had a solid team in Atlanta in the 2000s. DC, y'all had Michael Jordan at one point. Then you had Gilbert Arenas for most of the 2000s. Who else? After you go from DC, you go to Philly. Philly had Iverson. Who else? You go to Philly. You go to okay. The Knicks never had a superstar unless you want to count Stephon Marbury. You want to count Stephon Marbury? That's fine. Y'all had a superstar, Stephon Marbury. The New Jersey, y'all had Jason Kidd and Vince Carter. Boston, y'all had Paul Pierce. Then we go to Cleveland, y'all had LeBron. Indiana, y'all had Reggie Miller, Jermaine O'Neal, Danny Granger. Let's go to the next one. Milwaukee, we had Ray Allen, and I guess Michael Redd. Fuck Michael Redd. Chicago, y'all had... Okay, y'all didn't have a superstar. All right. So Chicago and Clippers, and if you want to say the Knicks, okay, they didn't have no superstars in the 2000s. Okay. Yeah, y'all was trash. Detroit, y'all didn't... I don't know if we want to consider them all superstars, but y'all had a solid squad that was making the conference finals from 2003 and up. From 2003 to 2008, y'all made the conference finals every year. Detroit was always in the conference finals. So I don't want to hear no excuses from y'all. See, who else? Who else did I not mention? Portland, y'all had fucking y'all had the Jailblazers, then y'all had Brandon Roy. Come on, man. And then the Bobcats. I guess Emeka Okafor.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
I guess. But the 2000s was the best era. It had... Every team had a superstar. All the players always played. They always played no matter what. Didn't take no days off. Didn't even matter if you was injured. If you felt like you could still put up 30 on a bad leg, then motherfuckers played and scored 30 on a bad leg. Especially this man right here. RP to the Bean. RP to the Mamba. Come on, man. This was arguably the best era of basketball. Every team had a superstar. The superstars always played. Didn't nobody try to jump and join teams. I'll make an exception for KG and Ray Allen. And I'll make an exception for KG and Ray Allen because they was pretty much old by this time. They was pretty much on their last legs. So I let them slide. But for the most part, everybody was on their team. Everybody fought. Everybody knew the grind. Teams actually used to practice. Teams used to have commitment. Players used to play. You know what I'm saying? It was full. It was fun. It was arguably some of the best times to witness basketball. You know what I'm saying? This is the best era, hands down.
From a physicality and rivalry standpoint,
yes,
the 80s and 90s are usually held on the highest pedestal.
Yes.
And then, with recency bias being a factor, and with the tremendous amount of talent all over the league the last decade, some of my viewers will see the 2010s or even this modern era as the best in basketball history. For me, the 2000s were the best of both worlds. You still had intense rivalries like the Lakers and Kings.
I forgot about the Sacramento Kings
and Pistons. You had incredible individual superstars,
and I forgot about the Warriors.
Array of three-point shooters. But it wasn't to the extent that the game appeared as a soft jump shooters league.
Everybody was skilled.
Simply, it had balance.
Oh yeah, Toronto, y'all had Vince Carter.
Slowed down physical.
See, I forgot so many teams.
But was also a time where tremendous shooters could ultimately be the determining factor in who wins the championship.
When superstars were actually fucking superstars.
And have the league instantly return to
Shout
the
out to my
style
boy
and
Allen
product
Iverson,
that
the
it
GOAT.
was throughout the 2000s. I would do it in a heartbeat. Lastly, I will tell my children about the weirdness of the 2020 bubble.
2020, I don't even think that should even be discussed. They should find that out on the internet by themselves.
If I'm being completely honest, I don't completely love or hate what transpired during the 2020 playoffs. In one sense, it was pretty freaking awesome, because there were almost no distractions, no actual audience, and no overwhelming stadium noise. In a way, it was just extremely competitive basketball in its purest form.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it was kinda lame, because all of the playoff games were just in one specific location.
Facts.
Which means that the home court advantage was irrelevant, which also means that all of the regular season qualifying games were pretty much a waste of time.
Yeah.
Since the 1 through 4 seeds didn't actually get home court advantage like they deserved. It was basically this weird blip in NBA history where I was grateful for its presence, but also skeptical about its legitimacy for a variety of reasons. Obviously, I'll have a lot more to tell my hypothetical basketball-loving children than just this, but these are just some of the things that immediately come to mind for me. So how about you guys? What are basketball things that you will tell the next generation?
That LeBron James is top 5, and don't you fucking forget it. And Allen Iverson is the GOAT. If you say Allen Iverson not the GOAT, you're not my child. I will slap the shit out of you and send you on your way to your mother. Facts.
I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section below. Thanks for watching as always. Make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
That's facts though. Anyway, so I'm just gonna about do it for this one. I'll see you on the next video. Till then, peace out.